Can I beat the SenseRobot chess with 2 queens? And so in game 1 I threaten a mate in 1 with queen f3, and to my surprise I get a checkmate in 2. Can I beat the SenseRobot with 1 queen? So for some reason in this game I had absolutely no chance, and I get hit by a pawn checkmate. Okay, so can I beat this robot with 1 queen and 1 pawn? Eventually I capture a pawn on g5, considered queen d8 but it's covered. I play the move queen f6, threatening to take the rook. My opponent develops the bishop and so I take the rook. King out the way and I take the knight. And I get to pick up the bishop too, and I've captured so much material. But my opponent decides to lock in, and so queen b1, king f2, brings the queen over to e4. At this point I was hopeless, so I was just queening around. A few moves later, my opponent comes in with the queen. Rook to g8, king to the side, queen e1, and I'm hit by this mate.
Checkmate.
He found a mate in 5, which was really surprising for a 200 rated player. And so the final challenge, 1 queen and 2 pawns. Can I beat this robot? I managed to win the rook in the corner, and the knight. Things are actually looking pretty decent here. And I started to gain some hope. A few moves later, developing my king, my opponent sacrifices the queen on d3. This I was not expecting, but as a 200 rated player, I guess it was bound to happen. Eventually I take this pawn, and I do end up winning the bishop too. Things are looking doable now. My opponent is still with a slight advantage, but I don't give up. A few moves later, I'm hit by a knight check. I go ahead and attack the knight. Another check. I go ahead and attack the knight. Knight to e3 is played, and now I have queen f3, attacking the knight, checking the king. Now, the knight has to block. If the knight doesn't block, I can take the rook in the corner. However, I didn't see that the rook was hanging, so I took the knight. The game's equal. As you can see, I'm developing my king. My opponent has an incredible fortress and they are completely fine. But eventually my opponent plays bishop to b7 and I managed to pick up the pawn on e6. Now the plan is simple. Promote the e-pawn. And so eventually I play queen b6, checking the king, king b8, and we just push on the pawn. I pick up the bishop. And after the king moves out the way, pick up the rook, and the game is coming to an end. Capturing the pawn with the queen, then with the king. Using the knight check technique to mate the king. If you know, you know. And so a few moves later, I put the king into the corner. Don't want to stalemate and play queen f7. So we develop the king to the side, king comes forward, king to the side once more, king comes forward again, king to the side, and for the final time, king f6, king right in the corner, and queen to g7 is checkmate. If you want the SenseRobot chess, click the link in my bio.